Pregnant elephant collapses. What rangers saw moments later left them speechless. The elephant's body hit the ground with a dull, heavy thud. Her large frame, usually so graceful, crumpled in the dry, cracked earth of the savanna, a land that had been parched by the heat of the sun for months. Her breathing was shallow, labored, each rise and fall of her chest a quiet testament to the effort it took to simply remain still. Her legs, long and sturdy, had given way beneath her, buckling from exhaustion. She was pregnant, nearing the end of her long gestation. The signs had been there: her swollen belly, the shift in her movements, her distance from the rest of the herd. She had begun to isolate herself, seeking the quiet seclusion of the scrubby trees and tall grasses, as if preparing for the labor she knew was approaching. The rangers had been tracking her for days, hoping to reach her before anything could go wrong. But now, with the midday sun hanging like a weight in the sky, they could only watch as she lay on the earth, vulnerable and alone. The savanna, usually alive with the sounds of insects and distant calls of birds, was eerily silent in this moment. The only noise was the wind, gently sweeping across the golden grasses. The elephant's ears twitched slightly, but she did not lift her head, nor did she attempt to rise. She lay there in the dust, a quiet strength slowly fading away. Her eyes, usually so alert and full of wisdom, appeared heavy, almost distant. A low groan escaped her, a sound of discomfort, but she made no move to stand. The rangers stood at a distance, observing with cautious eyes. Their hearts were heavy with concern. This was not a natural labor. It was something deeper, more urgent. They had seen elephants give birth before, but this felt different. The elephant's collapse had been sudden, unexpected. Something was wrong, but they didn't yet know what. Her herd was nowhere to be seen. In the distance, there were only traces of movement. A rustle of grass, a distant shadow of an elephant, but nothing close enough. She was alone in her struggle. The rangers knew they couldn't intervene immediately. Elephants were sensitive creatures, particularly when in labor. Sudden human presence could cause undue stress, or worse, frighten the animal into making dangerous choices. They would need to wait, give her space, but also be ready to act. One of the rangers, a woman who had spent years studying these majestic creatures, whispered softly to her team, "We need to keep watch. She's in danger, but we must let her decide how to move through this." The elephant's body shifted slightly, her large trunk curling and uncurling in the dirt. She was breathing heavily now, the effort almost visible in the tension of her massive frame. Her eyes flickered open once more, catching the attention of the rangers, but they did not move closer. They waited. In that moment, everything seemed still, frozen in time. The air was thick with the anticipation of what would happen next. Would the elephant's body continue to fight? Would the rangers be able to help in time? For now, all they could do was wait and watch, hoping for a sign that she could summon the strength to rise. The heat of the day seemed to grow heavier, pressing down on the land like an unyielding weight. The elephant remained still, but her breathing had become more rhythmic, less erratic. Every rise and fall of her chest echoed in the silence, a soft reminder of the battle she was fighting. The rangers, still standing at a distance, kept their eyes fixed on her. They observed every minute movement, every subtle change. They knew that in moments like this, survival was not just about strength, but about the will to keep moving, to keep fighting. But they also understood that animals, like this elephant, would only trust when they were ready. The humans would have to wait for that quiet moment of surrender when the elephant would, in her own time, allow their help. As the minutes ticked by, the rangers saw a small shift. The elephant's trunk, which had been curled weakly at her side, lifted slightly. It was a gesture so small, but it spoke volumes. Her large ears twitched in the wind, the only sign of her awareness of her surroundings. The body that had been so heavy with exhaustion now seemed to carry a hint of purpose. And then, the rangers noticed it. A faint sound, barely audible above the wind. The low, soft moan of the elephant as she tried to move. Her legs trembled as she shifted, trying to lift herself. She was fighting against the weight of her own body, against the heaviness of the pain. The rangers held their breath, watching closely, their eyes wide with a mixture of hope and concern. "She's trying to stand," one of the rangers whispered, though there was no need to speak. The air was thick with anticipation. With great effort, the elephant began to push against the ground. Her legs quivered, but she refused to give in to the weakness that had overtaken her. The Rangers took a few tentative steps forward, but they kept their distance, understanding the delicate balance of this moment. Their presence was still a quiet offer, not an intrusion. Her first attempt was unsuccessful. She collapsed again, her body sinking into the dirt with a heavy sigh. The sound was a mix of frustration and surrender, but she did not give up. Her trunk curled and she let out another soft moan, a sound that seemed to carry both pain and determination. The Rangers remained patient, knowing that sometimes the greatest gift they could give was simply to allow the elephant time. Her body, though large and strong, was also vulnerable in this moment. The weight of carrying life inside her was a burden, one that no amount of strength could make light of. A few moments passed, and then, with renewed effort, she tried again. This time her legs found a little more strength, pushing back against the earth, lifting her body ever so slightly. The struggle was evident, but there was a quiet resilience in her movements. The Rangers exchanged a glance, their faces soft with understanding. They knew this was a turning point. The elephant shifted once more, this time rising with a slow, deliberate grace. Her trunk swayed gently, touching the ground as she steadied herself. Her massive ears flapped slightly, a subtle gesture of relief as her body found its balance. The effort had drained her, but there was a lightness now, an acknowledgement that perhaps she could continue the journey ahead. Her eyes, once clouded with exhaustion, seemed clearer now. She looked toward the horizon, her gaze soft yet purposeful. The Rangers watched her in silence, realizing that they had just witnessed something extraordinary. The quiet strength of an animal, pushing through the pain, fighting for life. She didn't immediately move, but the signs were there. She was ready. Slowly, as if gathering herself, she took a step forward. The earth beneath her was still hot, the dust rising in the air as her feet pressed into the ground, but her movement felt different now. She was standing, yes, but she was also moving toward the future, no longer lying still in surrender. The Rangers, hearts full of quiet relief, gave her space. The danger was not over. But for the first time since her collapse, there was hope. The elephant had chosen to fight, and in that moment, she had reminded them of something powerful, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the will to survive could be stronger than the pain. The elephant stood, her body trembling but resolute as she slowly took another step forward. The Rangers, watching from a respectful distance, felt a quiet sense of relief as they saw her strength returning. Her eyes, once heavy with exhaustion, now glimmered with focus. Then, without warning, a shift in the earth beneath her, soft, slow, caught their attention. The elephant's trunk reached down, brushing the ground with care, and soon, the unmistakable sign of new life appeared. A calf, small and fragile, emerged from the dust, its tiny body trembling as it lay still for a moment before stirring. The Rangers stepped back, allowing the mother to gently nudge her calf, helping it rise. The calf's first steps were wobbly, but the mother's gentle guidance was unwavering. She watched over it with an unspoken understanding, her large body shielding her newborn from the world beyond. As the calf found its legs, the mother moved, her steps slow but steady. Together they walked into the savannah, the calf taking its first tentative steps under the protection of its mother. The Rangers stood silently, their hearts full, knowing they had witnessed something extraordinary. The elephant had fought through pain to give life, and now that life was beginning. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the plains, the pair moved into the distance, a new journey beginning as the day ended.